Welcome back, traders and investors. We have Tim Melvin on the line, MarketFi Maven, and author of the Tim Melvin Deep Value Letter. And Tim, you found some deep value in MSDN. Let's talk about that.
MDSN. Joel's dyslexic.
MDSN, yeah, that's all right. Listen, guys. It's morning. The Orioles are playing on the West Coast. We're all a little groggy, okay? MDSN. Now you're gonna love this one, guys. This is another one of my mega cap stocks, okay? And I'll background this a little bit. We have a portfolio called Banking on Profits, and as we went through looking for cheap small banks, I found a bunch of these little banks. And when I say little, I mean little by my standards, okay?
So you're talking stocks that trade literally by appointment only.
Literally by appointment. So we found a bunch of these. And now the problem is you can't put these in a newsletter portfolio. That'd be it'd be dishonest and unfair because you can't guarantee that a couple hundred guys are going to get a fill on a $10 million security, total market cap bank.
Right.
So we did a special report, and we've picked the 10 best, put them in a special report. MDSN was one of those. This is Madison Bancorp in Baltimore, Maryland, my old stomping grounds. This thing was trading at 70% of book value, had 4 branches, improving loan losses, and it was a huge bank by my standards. Had a total market cap of $8 million.
Holy cow.
That's how much money I have in my bank.
No, it's and all the banks in this report were like that. Okay, they're just really small little banks. They were difficult to trade, so we included a primer on how to trade these things and call the market makers. And a lot of people bought the book. A lot of people, ended up getting a position in the stock, and they got taken over yesterday for a 44% gain. And we just released this report in February, so that's not too bad. Between the two portfolios, Banking on Profits and our 10 tiny banks, we now have 5 takeovers for the year with an average gain of 45%. So that's not doing too bad. The thesis is definitely playing out. The community banks and the small regionals and the teeny tinies, they're emerging. They're emerging fast. We're in the second inning of what's going to be a really long ball game of a takeover wave in the banking industry.
Okay, Tim, you got to give our chat here. They're itchy here. You got to give them at least one of these potential takeover candidates that haven't been taken over yet. You got one for us?
I've got a few. Okay.
Okay, excellent.
All right, let's get the pen and paper out.
We'll give you guys a couple, but now look. I know that most of the guys in the chat, because I drop in from time to time and see what you guys are up to in the morning. A lot of you guys are traders. Okay. If your
These are not trades.
If your time frame is not
years,
a lot longer than noon break, these might not be for you. Okay, one of the larger ones is ESSA Bancorp. Now that's large by my standards for small banks. Okay, this is
what's the symbol there?
ESSA.
ESSA.
And I'm going to give this one because they just reported earnings. And then as these little bank earnings are coming in and conditions are improving in the marketplace and the credit problems, kind of like the pig and the python, they've moved on. So credit's not really an issue at this point in time. And business is not booming, but just the fact that it's not horrible, I'm starting to feel a little bit like a growth stock investor over here as these earnings reports come in. ESSA, it's 25 branches out of Stroudsburg, Pennsylvania, very low loan losses all the way throughout the crisis. They've been a very well-run bank. Used to be a mutual thrift, converted several years ago, I think 2009 for this bank, if I'm not mistaken. But it's trading at 87% of book value. Just had a great earnings report, 24 cents versus 16 cents in the year ago quarter. So, that's pretty solid growth for anybody. Paying a dividend 2.39%, and they're buying back stock. Every time one buyback program expires for 5%, the board gets together, they meet, they immediately pass another one. So they're pretty aggressive about buying back stock. Bank's just sitting there. It's in a great region of Pennsylvania. I think eventually this thing gets bought out. Probably gets bought out at 1.5% of book value because it's pretty quality, it's a very high quality bank, which would be a 60-70% gain from current levels.
And that got a boost yesterday off the other bank getting acquired, I assume, right? Because you did it. Yeah.
That's off earnings in the new buyback.
Oh, earnings in the new buyback. So, Tim, how do you trade these things? I mean, this one, okay, I could see you might be able to build a decent-sized position over over a period of time. But that other one that got taken out, I mean, did you have access to private stock? Because it just doesn't look like when you go back to that MDSN, it looks like it just doesn't trade at all. I mean, how do you?
It rarely trades. The way on those really, really small ones, the way we do that is we put a limit order out. Sometimes there's a bid ask spread on some of these. There's actually not. At what we think it's worth. I also called the bank on that one. Who do you have that's looking to sell? That actually works. They know who owns the stock. They know who's not thrilled with the poor performance of the stock over the last couple of years, and often can put you in touch with buyers. Also helps to find out who the market maker is and give that firm a call. So the really small ones, when you get down here in these, 12, 10, 8, I've got one on the sheets that's a $5 million total market cap bank. You got to be a little more proactive about trading them. Here's the thing. It's worth it. If you're buying these little tiny banks at 60, 70% of book value, as conditions improve, even if they don't get taken over, good things are going to happen.
So you'll actually call the bank if you want to buy their stock or something small like that and say, do you have, and then you just arrange a cross or something? I mean, that's, wow,
Yeah,
that's great.
just arrange a cross through the market maker. And that's really, and we have a chapter on that in the 10 Tiny Banks ebook that we did. And really that's only for the, the super tinies, the 40, $50 million banks that are, more the main of the portfolio. You can usually
for you.
They're huge. They're huge. Come on, I own some big stocks, just not, just not in the banking sector. You can usually get those done with a limit order and a little bit of patience.
Okay. Are you seeing any regionality to the recent acquisitions? Seems like you're kind of favoring the East Coast a little bit. Is that a trend you expect to continue? Is that just what your homework is saying, or do you think there's other areas of the country that might be experiencing this as well?
Well, the Midwest is seeing quite a bit of it. I mean, I talked to a Chicago banker not too long ago who said that, everybody in town wants to sell. It's just a matter of the right price. We're going to see a little bit up there in y'all's neighborhood of Michigan. Hasn't quite started yet. It's going to. You've got a lot, not in the Detroit area, certainly, where all the banks, like everybody else, left town because there's no banks headquartered in Detroit anymore. But if you go over to the western side of the state and up north, there's a lot of small banks in very attractive markets where I think, again, a lot of this has to do with compliance costs from the FDIC, from Congress, the Graham-Dodd Act. They can't afford to pay the bill for the lawyers anymore. So they're going to have to merge with a larger company just to survive, really. To justify being independent is almost impossible right now. So I think we'll see some up in your region as well. It's been concentrated on the East Coast for the simple reason so far that that's where all the people and all the banks are.
Right.
Tim, do you look at any other small banks out there, like in other countries? Like, do you look internationally, or do you stick primarily to the U.S. banks?
Internationally, we do buy banks, but we buy the great big ones.
The great big ones.
The great big ones. And we won't pay over half a book. Fortunately, they're all trading there right now because of the problems in the Ukraine and the upcoming stress test. I do like the big banks overseas, building an aggressive position right now in Greek banks, believe it or not.
Which ones are you building? Which ones are you looking at right now?
Okay, we like Alpha Bank and we like Eurobank, and these are both traded over the counter in the U.S. EGFEY for
EGFEY.
Or it might be EFGEY.
No, you got it. EGFEY.
That's a penny stock, Tim.
That's what?
23 cents. Is that right?
Yeah, it's absolutely. It's all the Greek banks are trading there, believe it or not. And a lot of the Greek over-the-counter stuff that's traded in the States is going to be in pennies. But this thing just recapped, and Wilbur Ross and Prem Watsa took their Bank of Ireland money and put it into this guy. And then Alpha Bank, which is ALBKY, I believe, also has recapped. And there's guys like John Paulson and David Einhorn and others that are in these banks, just as they were in Bank of Ireland. So remember, guys, Bank of Ireland was a penny stock when these guys started doing all this recap stuff a few years ago, too. And we got a very modest 10 times our money back out of that one.
Wow.
You're going to see the same thing, and it's going to be a really bumpy ride. All right. You put a stop loss in on this, and your broker's going to love you because you're going to be in and out of it almost on a daily basis. But if you buy this, sit on it 5 years, come back, I'm willing to wager that this is a $4 or $5 stock.
So you don't think these stocks are going under? Because I look at them from, a long-term perspective here. You look at 3-4 year charts on these things, and they were a lot higher, and now they're 20 cents. So, sometimes we used to call that the death march to zero, but you don't think that's the case with these stocks?
No, they've all been these two have been totally recapitalized with outside very smart money. Okay, you've got Seth Klarman in some of these banks. As I said, Wilbur Ross. They're not going away. They're not going to let their billions of dollars get flushed down the toilet because the banks make a mistake. The Greek banking system is on the way back. Believe it or not, it's a struggle. But the guy in charge of the turnaround effort for the Greek banks over there said last week, hey, if the Greek banks fail the stress test in October, it's not going to be by much, especially the ones that have recapitalized, and we have any funds they may need to draw upon already available.
Hey, Tim, real quickly, what about like Royal Bank of Scotland? Or let's look at the chart of Deutsche Bank. I mean, all the problems that this thing is having. Where do you have that trading according to book value?
Hang on one second, guys. Let me pull that one up real quick. It's on the radar screen, but we have not bought Deutsche Bank yet. We do and have owned Royal Bank of Scotland since it was.
You're making money in RBS this morning. Why is that popping $1.30? It's up 10% here this morning. Do they have earnings or something?
I'm going to be a maverick and say more buyers than sellers.
Oh, well, that works.
Deutsche Bank's just about there, guys. It's right at 52% of book value.
So it's coming on your radar here right now. You like it down here.
Yeah, probably going to go ahead and get involved in that one. We already own Commerzbank in Germany at this right now. So, Royal Bank of Scotland. Let's see. The big facing a breakup threat, possibly. I mean, I've owned that thing since it was like $6. So I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, that's been a great one for you.
And of course, if let's not call it great, it's been okay. I mean, I've owned it since 2008, so it's been a long road.
There's your time horizon, folks. We've had Tim Melvin on the line. He's a Market 5 maven and author of the Tim Melvin Deep Value Letter. He just hit a nice trade with MDSN here, following the bank stocks, combing the markets for value. Tim, we appreciate your insight into banking stocks as well as the rest of the market, and hope to speak to you again soon.
Guys, it's always a pleasure. Have a great morning. Let's talk again real soon.
Okay.
Thanks, Tim.
All right, bye-bye.